Hello, this is Gantor, previously known as Savage Dreamlord. I'm going to be running Amnesia, The Dark Descent for consideration at SGDQ 2016. I wanted to do a cold run of this, like would happen at the marathon, and whatever happens, happens. This will actually be my third run today. I did a test run, and then I did a run, but I fumbled a lot with the commentary, so I'm doing this one to hopefully clear some of that up and make it a little more interesting. So let's give it a go. The run begins when Daniel says, "Don't forget."
Don't forget. Some things mustn't be forgotten. The shadow hunting me. I must hurry. My name is Daniel. I live in London at Mayfair. What have I done?
Daniel is the protagonist of this game. He's lost his memory and doesn't know why he's doesn't know anything other than his name. I always try and get that helmet onto the chandelier. I've never been able to do it. It might, in fact, not even be possible, but I'm going to keep trying. So anyways, we wake up here. Like I said, we have no recollection of why we're here, what's going on, and a whole bunch of scary, disturbing things are going to happen. This game, I believe, came out in 2011, and ever since it's been popular for streaming and reaction videos, and it's just a very frightening game until you've spent a couple hundred hours speedrunning it. It's still very intense for me. I'm going to be doing a lot of weird things, but this is actually the Glitchless run, so all of my tricks and whatnot will actually not be things that don't count as glitches. And most of the monsters and puzzles are going to be intact and played through as intended. Not entirely, though. There's still some tricks up our sleeve. This first part, like with most games, is just, basically tutorial and setup and figuring out how to play the game. So there's not a whole lot interesting going on. For my part, it's just trying to move optimally and get through it.
Alexander, is it inside the castle?
In a manner of speaking. Come, bring the lamp. You've been to the refinery, have you not?
I don't believe I have. Is it connected to the...
So, I'm not moving completely optimally here. That's not too big of a problem, because if you actually go too fast... Hang on.
And it lies well beyond the refinery. In fact,
It lies beneath the very stone of Brennenburg. So, the last part of that dialogue, if you move too quickly in that part, will wait through that loading transition and then play through the beginning of this level instead of through the transition, meaning that if you go too fast, it slows you down. Well, I hear monsters. This is a difficult trick. We're going to try and break this while in the air, and then slide this book out while blind, and I got it. I get that trick, I'd say a little better than half the time.
If it stops, you'll have to start over.
Isn't all this a bit excessive?
You can never be too careful.
In this particular run, one of the challenges is there's actually a lot of sort of precise stuff that we're going to be doing while blind. We're about to see our first monster. Hello. Goodbye. He's still here in spirit. So, in this next area, I'm going to be doing a trick that involves stacking a flashback on top of an event. Both of those are things that slow you down, so getting them to run at the same time is going to save us time. I throw that box down there to set up a trick here in a minute you'll be seeing.
He left us enough wine to last us a lifetime. Or at least until tomorrow.
Oh, it's a pretty good placement.
What's happening? Oh, feels like my chest is going.
So that's going to prop open that door, and I trigger this event while that flashback is running, and now all of this is save time. This saves like 12-ish seconds.
Alexander, you piece of shit! Let us out of here!
Here's the red goo, which is sort of more confusing than scary, I guess. It's actually caused by a monster that we don't really understand yet. That was a horizontal boost. That's an exploit, but not technically a glitch. Here I'm trying to grab a pot while blind. If you do it wrong, you can accidentally grab that note, and that's a big slowdown. So here I'm going to do a quick click strat to dump all of these very quickly. That was pretty good. We're coming up on the first monster in the game who can actually hurt you. And one of the mechanics is that those flashbacks that we go into all the time make us invisible to the monsters. And we're going to be abusing that in a few places. But here it's almost sort of a hindrance, because we're going to be coming up on the monster just as this flashback here is fading. And so he's going to suddenly notice us when we're right next to him, and then have to get around him. And the timing is just bad. Sometimes this guy will catch me. He never really kills me, though. So it's not too bad. Just a little time loss. This game is actually extremely consistent, excuse me. In terms of time, my PB is just over 45 minutes. A horribly botched run. Like, I got hit there. That was unintentional. Like, if I just do awful, like an hour would be the absolute worst. My practice run, actually, almost everything that could go wrong did, and that was 58 minutes. Although I should mention the 45 minutes is game time. I don't know. I don't recall offhand what my real time was on that, but the real time can be a little sketchy in this game. I've observed that I have runs that are faster in game time that are slower in real time. There I fall on purpose and splash to get the monster through the door because I can get hung up on him. And that can end a run. I'm going slower because I'm damaged, so I'm going to have to be a little extra cautious here. Who's a good water monster? Wait for him to actually start nomming. I'm going to use a visual cue to only raise this exactly as high as I have to be able to duck under it. I'm going so slow it's feasible that this guy will actually catch me. As unlikely as it is. No, I'm fine. Although we're going to immediately have another chase scene with him, but I won't get caught. Water slows you down, so we're going to mitigate that a little bit by jumping, and also by jumping on top of things, so we can get like one step of run speed that we can carry that momentum through a jump. So here, that was sort of the first act of the game, and here's the beginning of the second one. This is the longest one. The windows here can be kind of trollish. It's real easy to get hung up on the frames, so you just kind of have to know the magic spot to jump through. That was good. Here in the study, there's a safety laudanum that we're going to get. For just in case I screw up later. It's a safety strat, but I mean, the chances of taking unexpected damage at some point are so high, I usually do it anyways. It does mean that we're going to be going blind as we're trying to pick up the crowbar. If we didn't get it, we'd be going blind as we're trying to open this door, though, so... You know, pick your poison. And here we're going to be going blind while trying to do a particular maneuver where we try and quickly open that bottle and get the key out. I did the maneuver while blind but missed it, and then did it again when I could see and just missed the key. That was suboptimal. It's a small matter. Down here, I'm going to be using a strat that's is still the community isn't sure about. I think that it's generally considered to not be a glitch. Is the way people are going, so I'm going to run it. It saves about 40 seconds. Normally, I'm triggering a flashback there by crossing that invisible line. And normally you would trigger that later on to distract a monster and keep it from killing you. But here I'm getting it early because I'm going to use that monster. I still have to come over here and get the drill parts though, because even though I'm not going to use them for what they're intended for, I'm going to need them later. For something super gross. Pile up some stuff there as a safety strat. If I do it optimally, it's also a speed strat, but not by much. And here's the guy. We want to get this guy's attention. He's running, so I'm going to try and bop him so he doesn't just kill me really easily. And I'm going to bring him over here, up, and get him to take a swing at me. So what happens is the monster punches the barricade and breaks it down. That was an unintentional death, though. That was unfortunate. So there's the monster, but the barricade should still be broken, so I'm just going to sneak by him. That happens sometimes. And like I said, you know, anything that happens to me now could easily happen to me during the marathon, so I'm running with everything. Whatever happens, happens. We're actually going to have 2 more monster chases before we exit this zone, either one of which could sometimes catch me. Jump scare warning. Now we have to get over some awkward geometry and open a door while blind. Here's monster number 1. I'm going to try and stun him and then get out of his range before he notices me. I didn't succeed, so he is chasing me. I got a good boost there, though. He's not very close behind me. Still, I'm going to duck under this to try and get him caught up on some objects in the room so that he definitely won't catch me. That guy pretty much never does, though. There's a rock that falls here that, if you saw the hand, in theory I can grab it. It's 1 frame. I've never actually pulled it off, but I'm going to keep trying. So this is what this stuff was for. And now that guy is so far behind, he basically can't catch me either. So apart from that one unintentional death, that was pretty clean. Not that I usually have too much of an issue in there.
Journey. So, you have ridden an elevator before?
Yes, the Colosseum at Regent's Park has one.
I'm gonna... This whole area is puzzles and stuff. I'm gonna solve this one by face mashing. Whoops. I face mashed bad and those didn't go the direction I wanted them to. But that only makes it probably about as slow as it would have been if I solved it the intended way anyways. This would probably be a good time for donations and similar, if this were actually a marathon. I'm going to get these gears to slide down the stairs because carrying them is slow. And I keep this one separate from those two. Oh no. Oh well. Come on, Cole. Work with me here. So that one always goes on the bottom. There we go. coming out of this zone, if I angle myself right, I can get a pretty good boost. That can land me, you know, pretty close to the bottom of these stairs. Here's a swag strat. I didn't quite get it. You can actually start the elevator without being on it, which I did, but I was caught by the doors, so I couldn't really move away. Here, well, I'm just going to stare at this Lovecraftian void. I Cthulhu Fatagan. Uh-oh. I like to try and jump right at the last second to keep from dying. So far, it's worked.
Come this way.
I'm going to show off my immense strength by moving this gigantic beam and boulder. Here we've got the speed rock. We're slowed down right now, but when I push this rock along the floor, it overwrites the slower speed I have from the flashback. This is the only point in the game where it even comes up, much less, you know, is useful. And here I'm going to kneecap another monster and try and sneak by him. This guy also catches me once in a while. It's pretty rare, though. Try and pick up the chipper while blind, and I missed it.
Where did she go?
Hey, buddy. Good try. Maybe next time.
You're just making things worse. Look, this is no place for a young girl all by herself. She could be hurt.
Normally you're supposed to combine the hammer and the chipper, but if you use just the hammer, it auto-combines for you. So, saves you one click. And now we've got the wiggle tunnel. So I've got to crawl through this passage, and sometimes your head will get caught on the geometry above you, but by doing this weird little mouse wiggle, I'm preventing that from happening.
Hurry, child. You must go.
Apologies to anyone who gets motion sick while watching FPSs.
You come too. Please, we don't have time to make the whole.
Here's the troll rock. There's a rock here in particular that will stick sometimes.
Hurry, I'll cover the hole with the bed.
It seems to be RNG. I'm not sure if there's any true RNG in this game, but there are some factors like that that are just, you know, currently beyond anyone's control. We're going to be skipping a monster here. There's a monster that if you go into his room, he chases you. If you don't, this room, if you don't go into that room, he busts out of it later and chases you. But by tweaking his door right there, it spawns him without him seeing you, so he doesn't chase you, and then we can run by it later. So right now, you know, normally he'd be busting through there, but he's not. And by the time he gets through that door, we'll be miles away. This chair is for a safety strat. It doesn't really slow you down to carry it. And we're going to use it to try and, you know, just help control this next monster. It's not real high risk anyways. This monster killed me earlier today for the, I'm pretty sure the first time ever. So we're going to kneecap him, jump over him, and then path over this furniture. And if you listen closely, you'll hear him actually bonk into it and get hung up. So normally he typically wouldn't catch me anyways, but it doesn't really slow me down too much to do that, so you know, safety strats. We can actually also break through this the same way that we did with that barrier earlier in storage. But I have trouble with it, and it's difficult for me to do, so this is sort of a marathon safe. The oil jar here is really trolly because a lot of the physics of this game, you can hear me clicking all over the place without picking it up. The physics are really put together with, twigs and string. Sometimes it can be hard to run this game without glitches.
The flow is seasonal, and when the spring runs dry, the damp tunnels...
It's faster to jump up ladders.
There is an antidote, of course, but we won't be bothering with it today. Come, this way instead. We're almost there.
This zone is the cistern. This is another good point for... Hey. Oh, I moved it the wrong way, didn't I? Yes, I did. This is another good point for donations. This next zone just involves a lot of platforming and not even particularly interesting platforming.
Conserving water from the spring.
Yes, it enables me to control the water in the drain sewers to some extent. Also, it can be used for all sorts of purposes.
Like for drinking.
Well, that too. But mostly to run different machines.
Ah, like water mill.
Exactly.
I put so many hours into this run that it's not too difficult for me to talk through most of it. Oh, pretty good pattern on the steam vents. I mean, not perfect, but that better than usual. I would be hoping to not have to do my own commentary so I can focus on some of the more difficult tricks. There aren't near as many difficult tricks in this as there are in the glitched run. Coming up right now is by far the most difficult trick, though. I have to do an extremely specific jump that I've practiced for hours and hours and hours and hours. I'm going to create a safety save here. Normally, when I'm just practicing and everything is chill, I can get this 4 out of 5. But I'm expecting to fail it a few times, in a real tense moment, like during a marathon live. But we're skipping it. Hang on. Got it first try. We're skipping an entire zone by doing this. And so even if I fail, 8, 9 times, losing 15 to 20 seconds each time, it's still faster to do this. I actually had one run earlier where I failed that jump like 5 times in a row. Still faster. And I'm going to build that, issues like that into my estimates.
Do you see, Daniel? It has yielded.
So I actually, the run where I failed that and just did horribly on several other tricks too, was 58 minutes real time versus a run that was pretty good was 52.
Are there more dead
Ooh, good pickup there.
Daniel, come, let's get going.
I'm actually going to use that laudanum to get a little bit of speed back, because I'm going to try and avoid a monster right here. And if I don't move quickly enough, he's going to catch me, and then it's, you know, a for sure death. Like, there's just no recovering. Here's the super gross part. Drill into his head, and let's just impale ourselves on that and start moving towards the door, because a monster is going to break down this door right now, and we have to get through it before he does. And I did it fast enough that it didn't even trigger the sequence, which is unusual, but dodging him isn't unusual. I'm going to try and get a boost right here around this corner. Doesn't save a whole lot of time, but swag. Gotta time the ladder carefully. If you grab it too early or too late, then you injure yourself and move slowly. Don't worry about that guy. He's just a hallucination. This monster that's coming up, it's possible to just run past him, but it's very dangerous. There's no consistent way to do it, at least that anyone has found. And he catches me the vast majority of time, and it's slow to get caught by him. Fortunately, the marathon safe strat, which I even do outside of marathons, is a whole lot of fun and very daring. Hey, Mr. Monster. Tasty, tasty Daniel. Run around to the left. Make sure you close that door. And in the time it takes him to break it down, we'll be too far away for him to catch up. Now we're going to be placing a pipe while blind. If we go too far, we'll get hit by this and take damage. Not too difficult. This is the monster, though, that I'm going to try and get around this guy. Better than half the time I don't succeed, but it's not too much slower to just attempt, so why not? It's, you know, fun to try, fun to watch, so let's have some fun. Hey, buddy. Go around to the left. Try and corner quickly to keep him from running. Going under the pipe confuses him a little. And hopefully if we did that part well enough, he won't be able to catch up and we can get to the ladder without dying. Yeah. All of those Hatchet Hand McGee monsters speak whale. Hello, Daniel. Lovely day to jump through a castle. Oh. So that's unfortunate. What happened there is that I was mid-jump when I crossed the loading trigger while going up that ladder. And so I started falling and actually hit the ground just before the next level loaded while we were blind, which is why I started so damaged. That's just unfortunate. Pretty rare, too. But that's why we have an emergency laudanum.
No, I can't feel anything. Alexander?
Yes.
This would be another good point for donations. We just go down and then up the stairs, which is pretty long. There's a way to get down the stairs without taking the stairs by, falling off of very specific pieces of geometry. But the geometry in this game is really slippery. Let's I'll try and get up using this banister, which is a little faster. Again, this is harder than it looks because everything is so slippery, which the glitch runners use to just amazing advantage. But for me, it makes some tricks that should be easy very difficult. So marathon safe. I'm not going to be trying to fall on stuff to get down. I'm bad at it anyways. Up.
Daniel, you have gone too far. I have to stop you. I can't let you proceed any further. I'm sorry, my friend.
Let's see if I can make it down this drop without taking damage. Not today. That's okay, though. It's not a big deal. We're about to take an intentional death to clear any damage and insanity that we may have accidentally accrued anyways. Don't worry about this zone. This is a story zone, so we skip everything. There's actually a lot of monsters in here, but we're going to be skipping all of them with careful pathing. We're going to have 2 intentional deaths, though.
Are my intentions, Daniel? Salvation. It used to be yours, but now you only seek misplaced revenge. How do you justify your violence? It is the greater good.
Jump scare warning in 3, 2, 1. So we've got 2 zones here that we're just picking up pieces of orb. This one is like really intense when you're going through it. It's not particularly slow to die here, so I do it, like I said, to clear any damage and insanity. Before I go to the 2 back rooms. And you can hear a monster to my right, but I'm just pathing around him. I just recently rerouted to start going to this room first, because coming out of the other room, there's a really long flashback, and when you go blind when coming out of it, there's one of 2 things that you can be trying to do, depending on the order. So I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But here's a really intense jump I'm doing right now. We have to get over this chasm. And it's not a difficult jump, but if I screw it up, path around another monster here. If I screw up that jump, I fall and die, and then it's really slow to come back. Here's the really long flashback. Now, if we do this room first, we're trying to go over that pillar across the chasm the other way. But doing the other room first, we're just trying to make it back to the chasm to fall in. And when everything's going wonky and you're going so slow, it's much easier to fall in the chasm than to try and make that jump onto the pillar. Which, like I said, isn't a horribly tricky jump, but we just want to, there's no reason not to minimize that.
No, don't worry. The human body is much more resilient. They can survive for days until they finally succumb.
And here, this is, it's going to spawn us back at the intro, so if I turn and click while respawning, I can zone back into the next, the previous zone where I want to go back to. Not a difficult strat, but very satisfying. The tricks, whether glitched or glitchless, are very satisfying to run in this engine. the only trick that I can really do in here is by jumping onto this pipe. I'm going to bypass a flashback trigger by going around it. It doesn't go all the way across the room. We still have to hit that flashback on the way out, but we're going to be going through a zone loading trigger, which will save us some time. However, the time that it takes us to get on that pipe and go around the room rather than cutting directly across it basically exactly balances out. I think if you perfectly execute it, it might save you a second. The interesting thing about it, though, is if you run a slow computer, that loading time is longer, and I think will actually save you more time.
The cradle is ready.
Good.
You're a man. How can you partake in this? Is he all right?
He is one of the wicked. Don't pay his lies any attention.
I'm not a bad man. It was an accident.
He set a man on fire.
It wasn't my fault. Why won't anyone listen?
So,
That's horrible.
terrible things are happening.
We are being
Just to recap, it's one of the major themes of this game, you could say. It's part of what makes it scary. There's a strat in here that I haven't practiced. I'm going to try it. And I don't know the correct placement yet, but you can pick up that orb through a tiny crack there in the cabinet. Yeah, as you can tell, it's not a big save or loss, but I'm going to practice that one some more. This is the flashback that we're letting run through this loading. And because I'm loading quickly enough, it's still running on the other side. So unfortunately, it doesn't eat the whole thing. This is going to be a forced death here. Because a trap has been laid for you, and when you die is the trigger to load the next zone. So I'm going to die as quickly as I possible, because the game has a built-in fail-safe. You come in here, you say, "Oh no, monsters, I'm going to escape." And if the game sees that you're trying to escape, it'll just kill you as if the monsters had caught up. So we do that as quickly as possible to get the next zone to load quicker. There's another strat here that I can do fairly consistently, although I'm still relatively new to it. If I fail it, I'll lose a little bit of time. But again, I can fail it repeatedly, and it won't, amount to too much. Is one of the, sort of beneficial things about this game. And, after a couple of failures, there's a safe strat I can do in its place. There we go.
We are so very much the same, you and I. Did you really drink from that amnesia mixture? It does explain so much of
And here you can tell we're stacking events again, but not in a useful way since neither of them slows you down. Whichever path you go first is the one that collapses, so we trigger that, and then immediately go the other way. Here I'm going to try and path along the ridge on this wall. I almost got the cornering strat, but not quite. That's okay. Still a fun, scary chase scene. And the red goo monster comes through and red goos everything. And since I used both of my laudanums for this run, I'm going to try not to get damaged too bad. I tend to get hung up on some red goo here. I don't know why. Other runners don't seem to have as much of a problem with it. So I guess it's just Gantor strats. I'll see what I can do. Come on, this is what I'm talking about. And being extra careful to try not to take damage led me to getting hung up for longer and taking more damage. Which is unfortunate, but I'm about to take another intentional death strat here. So, these things happen. Like I said, the geometry in this game is weird and tricky. That's part of the fun, though. Here's there's a monster over there, as you can see. Dying here despawns him. Trying to go over there and deal with him is a losing proposition. Waiting for him to despawn is too slow, so this is, you know, the fastest option. And let gravity work for me here, since you move slower when carrying heavy things. And one of the things that I enjoy about live runs anyways is that nobody's perfect. So you know, like with a task run, those are incredibly enjoyable, but once you've done it once, it's going to be exactly the same every time. You never ever know what's going to happen during a live run. Which, you know, is a different kind of triumph. That the tricks can be so hard and people do them well anyways. Here I'm going to try that quick click strat like I did earlier. Get my mouse aligned. I only screwed up one time, not bad. Here I'm actually going to hesitate to clear a quest, which will restore some of my sanity. I need 100% of my sanity to not pass out in the next zone. Whee! There it is. You can try and YOLO it through there, but that's not very marathon friendly. This is the only part of the round, the game where I use my lantern because I don't want to pass out by going insane. And since Daniel's afraid of the dark, you know, most of the game being dark, having my lantern out at this point will help to mitigate how insane I'm going. Because everything is actually going to get all swimmy and horrible. I have the effect turned off in my UI to make the game more playable. But it still puts that massive lag on my mouse, which, I mean, is hard to, for you to see. But I'm feeling it. This is the last room of the game. Time is when Alexander says, "No, you fool." No, you fool! So we're still in control, but that was the last meaningful input. You know, which ending that we're going to get and everything from here on out is predetermined at this point. And that was a pretty good run. I mean, some things went well, some things went poorly, which is average as far as runs go. I think it's a pretty good example. I think I explained all the things that needed to be explained. Oh, how did I get through here? It's locked.
You think I was afraid fleeing Brennenburg?
Need some more Lovecraftian void. The geometry.
I knew it was my purgatory. Hellfire made to wash away my sins. There's no denying the things I've done.
I get 0 tinderboxes or oil potions
I gave them
in my main run because I want to know where everything is in my inventory. It's also slower, usually. But I pick up that large oil potion so that Daniel, on his way out, can still use his lantern through the dark, scary forest that we saw earlier. It's just considerate. And that's my run. That is, I guess, some very factual commentary. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoy playing through that, and I think that my followers enjoy watching it. Thank you very much for your consideration.